CBW Productions presents Odin's Hall. Produced by CBW. Written by Wyatt Bowden.
Is the food to your liking? I thought, given this is your first real night as queen, you may find some comfort in some familiar cuisine from Vanaheim to help you adjust to calling this your new home.
Thank you.
I could always have something else prepared if this isn't to your liking.
The food is just fine.
Then I would ask you at least try to explain to me what is the matter.
Harvey.
Look, Frigg, I am not happy for this union any more than you. But I am at least trying to make this better for us instead of sulking.
I don't mean to sulk.
But,
simply put, this realm isn't my home. And no amount of food or attempts at keeping us civil will change that. I'm a stranger here, and everything feels foreign.
then perhaps instead of guessing, it would be best if you give me suggestions on how we can both work into making this your home.
You're serious?
Dead serious. Try me.
Well, for starters, the food is a bit undercooked and bland.
Are you serious? I go through the trouble of taking on a veneer chef, and he can't even cook you a proper...
But that is most food on Vanaheim. It may be a beautiful realm, but it isn't exactly known for its Epicurean delicacies. If I am to make this realm my home, then I should become accustomed to the local fare.
I can have that arranged.
And is there a particular reason we are eating here instead of in the dining hall?
Well, given it being your first night, I thought you may wish to have a more intimate setting.
The food may not be Vanaheim's greatest feat, but dining itself is always what makes up for it.
Really?
Oh yes, it is almost its own event. Even the most intimate of gatherings are filled with laughter, music, and dancing.
Now that is something I can definitely remedy more quickly.
What is this?
Entertainment! Shall we dance, my queen?
Why, certainly. You're a better dancer than I would have thought.
Freyja?
Ah!
Freyja!
Lord of Justice! Come dance with me.
I really don't think now is the time for dancing.
Do not be so serious, my dear. Your grim expression looks like it could use some levity. Consider it an order from your queen.
My queen, please. Please, I'm really not in the mood.
To your left foot and come on, you're not even trying. Oh, don't you want to dance with your queen?
If we could just take a moment to... My queen, are you alright?
Oh, I'm absolutely smashed, darling. Oh, you are no fun at all.
Why don't we just sit for a moment? I believe the rest would do us both some good.
Suit yourself.
You've been drinking.
What was your first clue? Was it the dancing? Is that out of character?
I was just confused. I would not have expected, given what's just happened, to find you prancing about the halls.
I'll have you know, I used to be very adept at dancing. And drinking. In fact, I would drink, dance, and sing all night with my fellow Valkyries before I even began to feel half as plastered as I feel now. What happened to those days?
You're behaving very strangely.
How would you expect me to act, Tyr? 2 of my sons are dead. My other son has been disowned for killing his brother, and my loving husband is... bastard. It feels as though I have failed in every way at being a mother or a queen.
That simply isn't so.
Isn't it? Mothers are supposed to nurture their children and keep them safe from harm. Queens are charged with responsibility of caring for all as if they were your own children, and I've lost control of everything. You know, my father warned me when I left our coven to become a Valkyrie. He said, being noticed by the gods will lead to nothing but sorrow. As things are, I can't help but think he was right.
Freyja, please do not look so hard upon yourself. These hardships are not your responsibility to bear under either title. You did not cause them.
It certainly feels that way when you've lost everything because of them.
But you haven't lost everything. You still have plenty who care for you.
You really mean that, don't you?
I mean everything I say. You know this.
You are always there for me, especially when I need it most.
Such is my duty and my pleasure.
Oh, dear.
Freyja, what has gotten into you?
Did you not just say you care for me?
I will always care for you, but as your friend. I'm sorry if I otherwise gave the impression.
No, I apologize. I shouldn't have lost hold of myself that way.
Freyja, please.
Let's just add it to the list of things I've lost control of, shall we? I used to be in charge of hundreds of warriors, and never once did I falter in the control I had over that domain. Now, I can't even be kept apprised of what happens to my children, let alone that of the realm. Look at me. I cannot even be relied upon to keep control of myself. How could I have allowed this to happen?
But my dear, these things were out of your control. No one could have foreseen these events.
No, I will not accept that. This was all in the control of one person. And because of his stubborn hubris, everything has escalated far worse than it ever should have been.
are you referring to your husband?
No, I'm referring to the stable boy. Of course I mean my husband. The arrogant ass who believes we are all under his thumb until the moment our use ends. If not for him, none of this would ever have...
What is the meaning of this?
Ah, speak of the devil.
First, my guards report your caterwauling permitting the halls. Then, I arrive to find you shouting and making a fool of yourself.
Well, given that you have already made me the fool, I suppose I should act the part.
What in the hell are you babbling about?
Odin, perhaps this is not the best moment to be picking fights.
No, Tyr, it's quite all right. This is what he lives for. The constant battle for power, no matter what the situation might be. It does not matter how petty the squabble, the All-Father will fight tooth and nail, as if he were fighting for his own life. No matter who he must hurt along the way, let go of me.
You've been drinking. Again.
We all mourn differently.
Yes, indeed we do. But as a representative of this kingdom, your grief should never...
Do not tell me how I will grieve! I have lost all my children because of you. I cannot even come to you for comfort, since it's not as though you ever care for anyone's troubles other than your own.
How dare you tell me what I care for? You dare insist our children's fates were in my hands?
Well, they certainly were not in mine. You made certain of that with how you raised them and kept me at arm's length, never trusting me with them or with anything you deem vital.
Need I remind you that it was you who divulged Baldur's weakness to an outsider? You have crumbled and fallen at every new obstacle that has turned up. Your very appearance in this moment demonstrates how unfit you are to deal with anything vital.
I am only this way because you pushed me to this. I used to be the strongest of all the Valkyries, but now look at me. Look at what you've reduced me to with your constant belittling.
Damn you! Stop this!
I trusted you. I knew better than to do so. But I trusted you no matter how bad everything became. And look at what became of me. Look how you burned me.
What are you talking about?
I trusted you as we went through every piece of this ordeal. Because you swore to me how much you cared for our children. Because you said you would do anything for them. I even trusted you when you said, Oh, nothing is going on between me and Lady Siegfried. I now see that you only ever say what others want to hear in order to attempt to get your way.
I was never once untruthful in any declaration I made.
Lying bastard! If that were true, our children would not be dead, and I would not have to see your infidelity with my own eyes.
Enough!
I heard shouting. Is everything all right, All-Father?
And, of course, here she is, right on cue, as it were.
Freyja, this helps nothing.
Perhaps not, but it's about time everything was out in the open. I'm tired of all these damn secrets.
What do you think you're doing?
Oh, will you relax? I'm not going to harm her.
Queen Freyja?
Yes, in my current state, there isn't much I would be able to do, would I, dear? Such beautiful locks. Do you remember when you were small, how I would agonize over brushing this hair. Sif, dear, I'm talking to you.
I'm afraid I don't understand what's happening right now.
I know you don't. It's because you're young. Young, vibrant, and beautiful. Do not look so embarrassed, dear girl. Take pride in what you have at your age. You have strength, beauty, and an abundance of time to learn from your mistakes. Oh, look at how lovely you clean up. You've already made yourself at home, I see.
Well, I thought...
Oh, no, my dear. This thought was not your own. Do not lie and convince yourself otherwise. We both know who gave you this idea.
Freyja!
Hush now, the lady and I are having girl talk. You know, I honestly should commend you for adopting so fast. It took me weeks to feel as though I belonged here. But then again, I suppose I never truly did. Belong, that is. Tell me, dear, are you nervous for what comes next? Be honest.
I am.
Don't be. It's not as though the king and I were unified by love or affection. There was some initial attraction, but that passion is as snuffed out as his stone-cold heart.
Javi, I heard you were...
Oh, Loki, dear child, you've come to join the fun!
Fun?
Pay her no heed. I will be with you momentarily.
Perhaps it's time for this fun to end and for you to get some rest, my queen.
In a moment. I have something important to tell the fine lady of Vanaheim.
You're testing my patience.
Sif, do you know what I wish someone would have told me when I was presented with the opportunity to be united with the All-Father? Trust not the words of the wicked king of Asgard, for his deceitful nature will always reign over any true wisdom he may possess.
Stop.
Emotions are only tools he uses to twist others to do his bidding. Every kind and sweet word is matched only by the back of his hand.
I said stop! Are you quite done?
I am.
Good, because so am I. I hereby banish you from this kingdom.
Odin, my friend, don't you believe this judgment is a bit hasty?
I believe I've tolerated this shameful display for long enough. You are hereby renounced of your title, and by my proclamation, our marriage is now nullified.
I suppose it was only a matter of time. I was honestly wondering how you would manage to be rid of me.
Do not act as though this was my intention. You brought this upon yourself. Time and time again, I warned you against your tone, and time again you chose to ignore me. Well, now I'm done warning.
Odin, please don't do this! Surely it's not too late to—
Do not interfere! Have you anything you'd like to say?
I do not.
Really? Nothing to protest?
Why bother? It's not as if it matters to you.
Guards! Kindly escort Lady Freyja to the Bifrost and instruct Heidal to allow her passage to anywhere in the 9 realms she wishes. Just so long as she is far away from me. Are you deaf? I gave you an order!
Don't touch me!
Freyja.
Do not look so dour, my sweet lord. Rejoice for me, for I am finally free!
What? have you done?
Are you alright?
I will be. Darling, would you kindly leave me for now? I have an urgent matter to discuss with Loki.
Are you certain?
Quite.
Very well then.
There's a good girl. My apologies. When I sent for you, I certainly did not wish to have you concern yourself with what you just witnessed. It's definitely not why I called you.
Might I ask why you did? Is it to discuss Fenrir's release?
We shall get to that. For now, I need assistance with some unanswered questions that remain lingering around these past days. I felt as though you could provide insight.
I'm honored. I'll help however I can.
Splendid. Then follow me. These smaller game pieces represent events that have taken place.
And the larger pieces represent your unanswered questions, yes?
Correct. I thought it may help mapping out the events of these past days. First, we have the recent attack at the Jotunar.
But I'm assuming this piece blocking its path is the mystery of how they were able to enter this realm undetected.
Correct. Next, we have the Grand Feast.
And the death of Baldur. But what question does that piece represent?
I shall come back to that. After, we have the interrogation of Hodor and the discovery of your son.
Yes, but what of...
We'll get to these items in due time. Just follow along for now. Next is my arrangement with Lady Hel. And finally, we arrive at our failure to reclaim Baldur's soul. Which brings us to where we are now.
Well, what of these other large pieces?
The first question you have already established, the Jotunar's sudden appearance in the realm. The next would be the death of Baldur, and just how exactly his weakness would have been found so coincidentally by your son and brought in to deliver the killing blow.
Didn't Freyja allude to an unknown third party she may have let slip the secret to?
She did. An unknown woman who we have still been unable to locate. Don't you find that odd?
Certainly, but still, that doesn't necessarily confirm anything in regards to my son being involved with the use of the mistletoe branch.
That brings me to my next point. I never said it was mistletoe that killed Baldur. You volunteered that information when I took your son prisoner. I have also been pondering over something your son said to me when I questioned him.
Which is?
He said he only did what he was asked. What an odd turn of phrase. Almost suggesting he wasn't fetching the items for the game at my behest. But then again, how would he have even known to look through Hodor's garden in the first place?
Javi, surely you aren't trying to insinuate...
But of course, after that, you readily suggested your daughter's aid, knowing she would ask for something demeaning in return. But even in spite of that, we rose to the challenge. We were so close to the cusp of victory as well. But then, another unknown variable appeared, as if out of nowhere, to stop us in our tracks. A woman who claimed she would never weep for my son's death, and influenced your daughter into making her final judgment. She's also mysteriously disappeared. Where were you during all of this? No response? Then I'll move on to another question, if I may.
Very well.
You, of course, remember the builder you brought to me some time ago. The one who you vouched for as a competent worker we could trust.
Of course, it was during my time as the diplomat for Jotunheim, for however briefly that lasted.
I assume then you remember why it was so brief. How he fooled us, as his intention was never to build something to keep out intruders, but rather to ensnare me within a death trap and make off with our now former queen.
He fooled us all that day. not my proudest moment as your emissary. I completely understood why you relieved me of that title. What relevance causes you to bring this up?
See, I had recently been thinking of this particular incident, and one thing has always gnawed at me about it. He fooled all of us? Even you, Loki, god of mischief and all things trickery.
What exactly are you getting at, Javi?
Given your previous history of youthful irresponsibility, I cannot help but wonder if you intentionally made this error so that I would relieve you of that duty. If that were not the case, would you not have suspected something amiss given your cunning? But the real reason I remind you of this is because this was yet another incident where Jotuns mysteriously appeared in our realm, just like the recent attack. And your son.
If there is a point you are trying to make, I am still waiting to hear it.
Oh, that isn't even the strangest part for me to make mention. What currently has my attention is the last words the obstinate woman who cursed my Baldur spat at me as she was dragged away. She cursed my family and all that I hold dear.
I'm sure you could understand her reasonings, given the circumstances.
But she let something slip I imagine was not intentional. She called me Avi. Now, who else can you think of that uses that particular term of endearment? Because once I registered that particular detail, everything suddenly became clear. Every single one of these events had one factor in common. You.
It seems to me that you have already discovered the answers to your questions.
All but one.
Then go ahead, Javi. Ask it.
Why did you do this?
You, of all people, have the audacity to ask me why.
I have the audacity to demand to know why someone I have raised as if they were my own child has decided to betray me.
Oh, I have seen how you raise your children. Believe me, that is no great honor.
You ungrateful wretch! After all I've done for you, why? Why did you take my son from me?
Because you would do the same to mine!
What?
All I wanted was to bring my son to somewhere he could be safe and live freely. Do you know what kind of torment he suffered from his own kind just for sharing my blood? The blood of a god!
That still doesn't explain why.
Fate, Javi. You are not the only person who can benefit and make use from the knowledge of destiny. Really, even now you hide the truth. How predictable. I am, of course, referring to your meeting with the Nornir.
How did you know about that?
Would you believe a lucky guess? No? Maybe I overheard it somewhere?
Does this convince you?
You were the guard that showed up after the Jotunar attack.
Arriving right on time, too. I was just coming by to check on my little decoy while Fenrir made his way into the realm. I was impressed to see you had already dispatched them. Then, once I heard the Nornir wished to meet with you, I admit my curiosity got the better of me. But what I heard...
So what? In that moment you just decided to deliver a preemptive attack?
No. That would be ludicrous and benefit no one.
Then what was the point of this whole elaborate mess we've been through? Explain to me why.
Baldur's death was never supposed to happen. You want the truth? There it is. None of this was supposed to happen as it did.
I mean that Baldur was never supposed to be killed by my plan. Only harmed. After learning of your fate regarding Fenrir, I thought the best course of action would be to try and endear him to you somehow. I could not place you in danger. After the recent attack, you would have grown suspicious. Harder and Thor would also not have made much impact in terms of the severity of your reaction. But Baldur, your firstborn child with invulnerable skin, now that would definitely get your attention.
So let me get this straight. Instead of confronting me directly, or even attempting to broach the subject of your son, you decided to take advantage of Freyja's naive kindness to find out Baldur's weakness, so you could enact your mad plan.
My plan was not mad at all. It was practically foolproof. Baldur becomes injured during the games after tussling with his brother, and my compassionate son would come in and swoop to help him.
That didn't exactly work out, though, did it?
How would I have known that your blind son would actually get a shot in the dark and kill Baldur by mistake? As for the Queen, do not begrudge her too harshly, Javi. In truth, it was not my favorite part having to trick her.
Given how starved for affection and care she was, some gentle prodding and a sympathetic ear was all it took, and she, too willingly, divulged your little secret.
You claim you wanted to protect your son, yet you used him to accomplish your goal?
That is, of course, my biggest regret. I did not wish to involve my Fenrir directly outside of the part he would need to play once Baldur was injured.
But, unfortunately, there was no time for me to grab what I needed for my plan, and my sweet boy has always been willing to lend me a hand with whatever I ask of him. He really did not even know of my plan, or why I needed the mistletoe.
But you told him where to look, and your little wolf fetched it anyway. Quite a mess you've landed him in by asking him to do so.
He would not have landed in anything if not for Hodder's blasted hearing. But I thought of another solution. I always do.
The deal with your daughter. Tell me, was she in your machinations?
Oh, heavens, no. She would never listen to anything I requested. But that isn't to say I didn't provide the suggestion of what feat she should ask of you on our way back to Asgard.
Traitorous dog!
From there, it was all too easy to derail all your progress entirely. Just one negative testimony and all your efforts went to waste.
You damned my son with a false accusation, you wretch!
Not false at all, actually. Throughout this whole process, I never once lied to get what I needed. Unlike someone else I know.
You would have believed my sweet boy would force themselves onto you!
No, not me specifically. But the face I wear now is indeed someone he did that to.
You lie!
I witnessed it with my own eyes.
No, it cannot be. My Baldur would never.
You did not know him any better than you truly knew the rest of your children. Which brings me to why I decided to wear this face and deny you his return.
Yes, I deserve an explanation for that. You had already got what you wanted out of me, arranging our deal. Why did you force me to suffer further?
Your duties as a father will always come second to that of your king.
Your fatherly advice left a bad taste in my mouth. Perhaps it is a bit petty of me, but once I allowed your flippant remarks to settle in, I simply just could not control myself. Why should you have your Baldur back when you don't even appreciate your offspring as the miraculous gifts they are? In your mind, they are all just pieces for you to manipulate, like that damned game board.
So that's all it took. One minor annoyance with my words, and you decided to damn my family entirely?
Oh, I do not deserve the credit for that.
What is that supposed to mean?
Truly, the best part about all of this is that I may have pulled the strings, but all it took was a little nudge in the right direction, and you all attacked each other like rabid wolves fighting for scraps.
Bastard!
The icing on the cake was Thor killing his own brother in defense of my honor. I genuinely can say that was a surprise.
Shut up! I should kill you for what you've done.
Do it then! You've already lost 2 children, disowned the 3rd, and discarded your queen. Why not add more to your body count, huh?
Silence your mockery, fool!
What is going on here? Odin! What do you think you're
Weeding a snake out of our garden. All this misfortune has been Loki this whole time. He alone arranged for all this misery.
Is that true, Loki?
I'm afraid it is. And I have enjoyed every moment of watching you squirm at every turn.
Odin, stop! Your oaths, All-Father! The vows that are your bond as king of the realm!
Why should I be held to this nonsense when he is the one who broke our accord? It's no less than he deserves.
Whether or not that may be true, if you are not held accountable to your word, then you are no better than him.
Fine. But I do not need to kill you to punish you, Loki.
Then what do you suggest, oh wise king?
A trial by combat. No weapons, no tricks. Just you and me. Will that satisfy your moral outrage?
Well, I would prefer you not fight each other at all. But I suppose if you must. Do you agree to those terms?
A fight to the death?
If you feel you're skilled enough.
Oh, Javi. Someone sure is feeling certain of themselves.
Do you accept?
I do.
Very well. Then as soon as you are both prepared, you may begin.
I'm ready. Are you?
Always.
Now who sound certain of themselves?
this, Allfather. To carry this on any further would just be cruel.
As you wish.
Harvey!
The game is over. Loki, son of the late goddess Lauffey, mischief maker of the Aesir, you have been found guilty of the crimes of treason against the crown of Asgard. You are hereby sentenced to exile from this realm and stripped of all your titles and rank within this court. I dub thee Oathbreaker, and you shall be branded so that others will know you as thus. You will henceforth be considered an enemy of the realm and treated as such, should you ever deign to show your face here again.
What of my boy? What of Fenrir?
Your son shall indeed be freed from our dungeons as promised, but he will then be transferred to a remote island just off the shores of Asgard, where he will remain my prisoner.
But you can't! You gave me your word!
You of all people do not have the place to speak to me of promises. Given what we know your son will become, I cannot allow that type of power to just roam freely.
You what?
Do not act surprised by this. I told you this once before. Have you anything left to say, traitor?
You think this means you've won? You think the game is over? But as long as I draw breath, the game will never be over!
Guards! Remove this piece of filth from my sight. First, take him to the dungeons to be branded as the worthless traitor he is. Then, have Heimdall toss him wherever he sees fit.
Odin, how could you do that?
Do you mean the fight? Quite easily, I assure you.
I mean what you have decided for Fenrir's fate! It goes against—
Nothing! I have gone against nothing! I swore I would release Fenrir, but never to where. It was Loki's own fault for not being clearer as to where I should release him in our deal. You told me to find another way, and I did.
Oh, I see. So instead, you chose to use words to manipulate the wills of others. First you banish your queen, and now you find ways to serve your own selfish goals without breaking your vows. Where does it end? Where do you draw the line?
I am your king! Who are you to question me? Your only responsibility is to carry out my will! Your very will to live should exist to serve what I decree!
Yes, my king. Whatever you say.
Just like that, Odin had won. But at what cost, you may ask? Well, sadly in this moment, he was not thinking of costs or what may transpire next because of this victory. He was only thinking of how much pain he was in and how that rage needed to be expelled.
What help do you require of me? Are you alright, Father? Even Porter can see how frustrated you are.
What have you done?
It has been too long.
Mother!
As Odin began to settle down from his fit of rage, he noticed the bracelet Loki gifted him. He ripped it off out of anger and had every intention of tossing it away as if it were tainted. But he could not bring himself to do it. No matter how angry he was in this moment, he could not throw away the last tie he had to this person he once viewed as his own child. He instead chose to cry out in anguish as he sat alone in his hall.
Some of that is...
It's a bit hard to stomach.
I did warn you both that the story would not be for those who are faint of heart. Do you regret what you've learned?
No, not at all. But it is quite the heavy tale.
Indeed it is.
What was next for the Allfather now that he had defeated his perceived enemy? Surely that was not the end, given what most myths say of his exploits before Ragnarok.
On that you are quite correct. Odin's descent into madness would only deepen in the coming days now that he believed Loki had been dealt with. Why do you say perceived when referring to Loki?
All Loki wanted to do was keep his son safe. Meanwhile, all of Odin's actions were for himself.
Are you so sure of that? Was Loki right to set Baldur's death into motion over something that had not even happened yet? Did he not, in fact, actually make Fenrir's predicament worse from his own involvement in Odin's troubles?
Loki only acted as he did because he knew how the Allfather would react upon learning of Fenrir's identity. The rest was purely accidental.
That certainly is one way to look at it. Yet the Allfather did not violate his oaths. Instead, he opted to imprison his son farther away from the kingdom.
Are you implying that Loki is the one at fault, just because he did not follow some ancient accord in defense of his son?
Not at all. Loki had every right to want to protect his child, but choosing his blood over his oaths put him directly at odds with the Allfather.
Are you then saying that neither of them were correct for their actions?
I'm merely suggesting that both of them had their reasons for the path they took. But it cannot necessarily be said who was more right than the other, given both their intentions cost them quite dearly. As I said, every living being has the ability to make mistakes, whether you are God or mortal. We all have the capability to create error over what we believe is right.
So the story is not necessarily about right or wrong, but instead more about perspective.
Precisely. From Odin's perspective, he was protecting his kingdom from someone who admitted to threatening his rule. From Loki's, he wanted to even the odds for a score yet to be determined by taking from Odin what he would threaten to take away from him. What is your perspective, young lord?
Mine? It seems kind of ironic. They both ended up pushing events into motion they sought to defend against, simply by antagonizing each other. It's also very sad, given their long history together.
Indeed it is. How about your perspective, my lord?
Seems to me that the Allfather was just another petty dictator who was looking for any justification for his selfish and deceitful actions. It does not matter that he did not slay Loki or Fenrir. He still used the bonds between them to manipulate the outcome in his favor, while Loki put everything on the line for his child.
Lauffey.
You may be right. Who is honestly to say which action is more just or unjust?
Odin said that he would do anything for his child, but the moment his own foolish pride was threatened, he threw caution to the wind and chose his throne over his family. He ultimately chose his own consequences and—
Lauffey! Calm down, my friend. This is just a friendly discussion. Surely our friend here meant nothing by his statement.
If I've offended you, I do apologize.
I'm turning in for the night.
I did not mean for my story did not upset him.
Do not worry for him. It probably hit just a little too close to home is all.
Oh?
Perhaps I shouldn't say this, but Lauffey was once a father. Though he certainly does not look old enough to have been one.
What happened?
Sadly, from what he's told me, he was betrayed, and his son was taken from him by someone he trusted greatly.
I see. Do express my deepest apologies as well as my condolences when next you see him. I too understand what it is to lose a child.
You have as well?
A long, long time ago, I'm afraid.
Oh. I'm very sorry to hear that.
Do you have children?
Not yet.
Ah, the confidence of youth. Just do be careful, young lord. Fatherhood and family are not exactly a responsibility to be taken lightly.
That is a nice bracelet on your arm.
Oh, this old thing. It was a gift from someone I lost a long time ago. Sadly, this is the only piece I have left to remember them by.
What happened to them? Did you lose them when you lost your child?
You should probably follow after your friend. It is quite late after all.
Do you not need somewhere to rest yourself?
I shall find my own way. I always do.
Very well. Then perhaps we will see you again sometime for another story?
You may, if you so desire. My travels are not so urgent that I cannot stick around and indulge you further with more stories about the gods.
Then I shall contain my excitement for until we meet again.
Such a nice lad with such a shining brightness within him. He almost reminds me of... Foolish old man. Do not lose yourself so completely to your stories that you forget your own history. Your boy is gone. They all are. You are all alone. My apologies for offending you. Still, to lose your child because of someone you trust, that is indeed a pain I understand and carry with me, much like this old bracelet. Though, I can't help but wonder, which is a worse burden? Losing the ones you love because of someone you care for, or knowing the reason you lost them is because you caused it to happen.
Odin's Hall stars Oliver Smith as the Old Man and Odin, Willa Snowbender as Freyja, Chris Aireart as Tyr, S.J. Harris as Loki, Noelle Pennison as Lady Sif, with Wyatt West as Siegfried, and Tim Hotston as Lauffey. Featuring additional voices by Vlasto Peyitch as the Asgardian Guards, along with Ixy VA as the servant girl and the unknown villager. Story written and directed by Wyatt Bowden. Music scored by Pavel Grebstov. Featuring additional music by the Knighthood Project. Audio engineered by Gibby Audio. Edited by Joseph E.W. Series art by Evan Colin. Produced by CBW Productions. And with that, our story now comes to a close. But fret not, for the end of one story is oftentimes the beginning of another. Our tale is not yet concluded, for we still have more to tell that resides beyond Odin's Hall. So do please join us when we return for Odin's Fall.